If you thought the inflation was going to subside, my goodness, I have some stats to show you today. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. In today's video, we are going to look at everything to do with your finances. I'm going to show you what's happening, give you little pieces from all of these different parts to paint a really unfortunate picture of what's happening, but not just to become the victim, not just to sit back, but actually to take action against it. And I'm going to show you some of that right now. The first thing you're looking at here is, where's the tipping point? No, we're not talking about Gladwell. We're looking here at share of respondents who say that tipping should not be expected. It depends where you are, right? Looking at Sweden, 43%, UK, 41%. At the other end of the spectrum, Italy, 18%. Depends on where you go, right? For a lot of people, though, that work off of tips, they would say, I really hope I get tips. It really all depends, right? Now you're going to everywhere where you're just buying a coffee, and now there's a tip suggestion there right on. Why? Because nobody brings cash. Before, you would buy that, let's say for $5, there's a buck left over, you would throw it in the jar. Now, because everything is digitized, Sweden, everything is digitized. Well, now it's a different story, right? Those are not getting those tips. At the same time, it's just everywhere in our faces. That's in some way inflationary. Tip creep versus tip fatigue. Americans' tipping habits, share of respondents say that they typically leave a tip at the following occasions, and it breaks that down. Certainly, eating at a restaurant is one of those places where there's a minimum wage worker and you're trying to sort of subsidize that somewhat by giving them an extra tip. If they provided you with excellent service, maybe they gave you a little something extra there. You want to be able to tip, you want to be able to take care of them. I get that. But what we're seeing is the price paid overall for a good or service has increased, whether it's from one thing or another. Like I remember back in the day where 15% was the tip. That was fine. And now that's not even an option on the little screen. I'm sure you see the same thing. It's 18, it's 20, it's 25, it's 30. It's all over the place. And I understand that money, hopefully, is going to the individual and you're trying to help them out. I certainly tip as best I can in every circumstance. Guilt tipping is getting out of control, but signs show consumers are pushing back. And this is what it goes into. Like you can push it so far. Just like the stores, they continue to increase their prices. That eventually hits the ceiling in what the consumer is willing to pay. At the same time, we're seeing the prices of food going up. Now, this is an index. It doesn't necessarily mean when you go to that store, it's going to be higher based on this chart. But this is the UN Food and Agriculture World Food Price year over year. And so those have been increasing. So month over month, it looks a little bit different, but certainly this is where we're at. We're getting a resurgence in inflation to some degree after we were being told that it was deflation all the way. The Federal Reserve did not increase interest rates or decrease interest rates as many had been hoping and all this. So what does that mean? They're suggesting to everybody, hey, things are good, things are fine, but at the same time, you're not cutting interest rates. Weird thing. The unlikely new real estate darling, restaurants. This is an interesting thing because what's happening, I think, there's multiple levels to it, and I want your input here. If people can't really spend the big bucks, they can certainly go to a restaurant and they could spend $100 here or there. At the same time, I believe a lot of people are not necessarily cooking at home. They don't know how to do that. They don't have that skill. They don't have the desire. They don't want to spend the time doing that, so they go out a lot. But at the same time, I think what's happening here is people are just saying, screw it all. I'm just going to spend every last dime. I can't afford a house. It's not going to happen. I can't afford the rent. This is not going to happen. I'm just going to live like this in this circumstance and spend it all. What do you think about that? That is, I've seen a lot of evidence to suggest that. Home ownership costs in the US jumped 26% since 2020. Expenses include taxes, insurance, utilities, and all soaring during a high period of inflation across the economy. Home ownership costs, I think, are actually much worse in a lot of places, but even at 26%, it is truly absurd. when you factor everything in, because we're talking about the mortgage and all the debt that we have associated with that, not to mention fixing stuff around that house, which is inevitable, has increased as well. So we're getting pushed from all sides. And now we look at the retail apocalypse. People say that, oh, you use all these scary titles and all this, literally copying and pasting from the articles. But anyway, Walmart store closures are a warning sign of retail apocalypse, with other chains also facing the threat. It's not just Walmart, and Walmart obviously has a lot of stores, but what we're seeing here is that the shoppers are being, as the Walmart CEO said, choiceful. And essentially what they're doing is they're not going and being monogamous, let's say. They are going and they're shopping around. They're trying to find the best deals and which stores are willing to squeeze their margins down super low. And at the same time, it tells us what's going on with the consumer. They are basically pushed to the edge. There's some good news here that US wholesale prices dropped in May, adding to the evidence that inflation pressures are cooling. Wholesale prices are what come before consumer prices. So those whole goods, before they make it to you, this is what the producers are going to be dealing with. And of course, if the inflation has come down on those products, that could translate into cheaper prices for you. You hope, right? You hope. In the case of Argentina, a country that I had been covering for many, many years leading up to this point, the inflation level has fallen in May for the 5th straight month. Now, if you ask the people in Argentina, they say that we are being punished. Eating is a luxury, is the quote. They're dealing with a lot. And I don't think that even if they are doing a good job right now, it's not going to just come around from where it was, from basically, not Venezuela levels, but the currency was rapidly depreciating. You don't just get a new guy in charge, make a few changes and everything's going to be okay. There has to be pain. You have to feel pain for a period of time. Hopefully everything goes well and that they take care of this. We'll see. I just wanted to show you that, an extreme example and what could happen. More American expats are renouncing their citizenships. You see this. Why? A lot of them, they've been living overseas for so many years. They're living in Mexico, they're living wherever it is. And they're basically saying, why am I going to keep this thing because of the burden that it applies to me? Like if you are an American citizen, a lot of times you can't invest in certain financial companies. A lot of businesses won't deal with you because of the extra laws that are put in place specifically for American citizens, even if you are living abroad. At the same time, when you see this, it depends on your circumstance, but you're still going to be paying taxes, right? Unless you have the foreign exclusions. But for a lot of people, especially if they're making a lot of money, that it makes a lot more sense to renounce their citizenship. This is one of only 2 countries, by the way, globally that do this. So the United States has a unique circumstance, and a lot of people are just saying, I can't do it. What is the change? What's coming, right? You want change? You want to vote that change in? Well, look at this example. Members of Congress take lobbyist jobs paying as much as $4 million. It pays for lawmakers to swing through the revolving door and join the ranks of influence peddlers. I've covered the revolving door many, many, many times here on this channel. Some of those videos had to be deleted. So I went a little too far on those. And so you're getting $4 million. Now you might ask yourself, why would somebody get into this role where they're going to be literally harassed by 50% of the population? Why would they get into these positions? It's because of what it offers them, the connections that they can develop. That's what government is. It doesn't matter which government we're talking about, okay? Just let's be clear about that. Doesn't matter which government we're talking about. They are all doing the same thing. These people generally are not good people. You might agree with them. You might agree with their politics, but look, what are they after? They're after this corruptive effect that is very present everywhere. But you have to understand, this is a global, environment that we're in today. You don't have to be dealing with one country. Yeah, you can be living in the United States and you can remain in the United States, but your customers don't have to be from the United States. You could have a corporation in different places in the world. You can do that. You can have investments in other parts of the world. You don't need to just be in one space, in one location, because we are moving into a multipolar world. It's not just, a line that we've heard out of, the BRICS and all that. This is what's going on, and it is advisable that you start to look at different investments, different measures that you can take, both preventative, you want to be proactive, but of course we want to be able to have a plan B in place already. What's a plan B in place? Like, for instance, having a second citizenship. Easiest way to get a second citizenship? How? To invest the $1 million in Malta? No, it is through your bloodline. A lot of countries will offer you that. That's the best way because it's the lowest cost, straightforward. Just need some paperwork, get it done. Get that done. It's a plan B. Why not? You have to understand the pillars of prosperity. This is something I talk about all the time. All you need to type in to the search engine, pillars of prosperity, the money GPS, and you will find this video. I talk about number 1, increasing your income, and number 2 is self-sufficiency. When you get those two dialed in, your life will be better as a result. I help people on Friday and Sunday. This is where we get into for over 2 hours. So now all the videos that I'm not doing during the week, the Friday and Sunday sessions are getting so jam-packed right now. It's crazy. Friday session is all about, it's more like the money GPS, but way more in depth. And we get into it for like over 2 hours. And then on Sunday, we talk about building an online business, diversification through that, how we can make money, how we can not be worried about the location we are tied in, geographical independence, currency diversification, and all of that. If you're interested in this information, themoneygps.com/live, themoneygps.com/live. I'll see you there. Take care.